Can everybody come in so they can hear? Thank you, Mintu. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for attending here today, because it's very, very crucial that we show numbers, and I'm actually quite happy with the people here. There's probably people that couldn't make it. I know there's some apologies, but the more people, the better we are, because people power is what wins situations. Now, firstly, I'd like to welcome Frank Pangello, the member of South Australia Legislative Council, a journalist himself as well, a really good one, and an independent member of the SA Best Party.
No, not.
Oh, not anymore?
Independent.
Independent, yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Now, the reason for today's meeting, as we all know, is about our future. It's nothing else but our future, because our future at the moment looks very, very glim. Okay? Today's agenda will be the things that we need to talk about. The huge gap between the product that is made from our produce and the money that we actually receive. Now, as we know, wineries always carry on about the price of bulk wine. The price of bulk wine. Now, why would a winery like Accolade spend $50 million on a bottling plant if they sold all their grapes as bulk? No one says that, the price of wine is so much when we put everything together, bottled, bulk, cask, and that is the average price. But they say, the bulk wine is 50 cents, this is all you're going to get. That's irrelevant at this stage. We're going to speak about the wine grape growers' cost of production that has actually gone through the roof in the last 3-4 years because of, one, COVID, and COVID was a major player, and two, the China factor, because most of what we use on our properties actually comes from China, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's chemicals, whatever we want to use. That's the game. Growers are actually fed up with being at the end of the food chain. You know, why is it that every time something goes wrong, the grower has to pay for it? It's always the grower. The Australian dollar, the grower. Transport, the grower. Now the oversupply, the grower. Why the grower? There's a lot of people in that chain that need to look back and say, well, if we want this industry to survive, we all need to take a cut, not always, but at the bad times. We all know that probably wineries are struggling because of the situation with the oversupply, but why do they not come out there and say, well, we need to do something about it? Not say, we are going to give you $100 or $150 a tonne for your grapes. They know very well that the cost of production is well over $350 a tonne. Now, who in their right mind will go out there and sell a product of any kind a third of the cost of the production? You'd be crazy, because you're going broke and you're making them richer. Because if we pick our grapes for those prices, what happens is that we will fill their tanks again for nothing, and next year it'll be all the same again. We as growers need to stand up. We need to look at ourselves firstly, because we are the ones that are going to make the decision. Is that I know everyone's financial situation is totally different to everybody, but whether we pick grapes at $120 a tonne or we leave it on the vines, we're going to go broke anyway. You know what I mean? What will you pay with that $120? Me personally, I'm also a contract operator with harvesting. I'm scared when it comes to, I'm a grower, so I understand what people are going through, but I'm actually scared that will I be able to get my money back from the people that I pick the grapes for? Because they're all struggling. I mean, how much money, what can you pay with $120? The harvester, the transport? At the end of the day, we're all going to go broke. But now we know that wineries at this stage are saying to us, there's no room because our tanks are full, but there's plenty of room for $120 and $150, but there's no room for $350. How does that work? If their tanks are full at $350 and all of a sudden they've just become empty at $120 and $150, to me that's crazy. You know, someone's pulling our leg. So we as growers have to, I mean, it's all up to us. It's no one else can do it for us. And the other thing we must look at is that the people that represent us, well, at this stage, I see nobody representing us. You know, they say Riverland wine. Where is Riverland wine? If growers don't know, Riverland wine at the moment is a husband and wife team that are based in Adelaide. Have you heard them come out and scream and say, hello? Hello. Now, have we heard them as a representative of ours to come out and scream and say, growers will be broke the way it's going. They will become broke. There's no two ways about it. And so we need our national board, our national leaders of the wine industry that give all the representation to the governments and saying, well, they must be saying the wrong things to the governments. Because at the moment, there is no money for growers, and governments are saying, oh, well, things are not that bad. Well, they're very, very bad if they know what's going on in this region. I don't know, as a grower, what's happening in the dryland regions of, say, the Barossas, the Clares, and all those regions, because they've actually separated us, and that's the way of what they call is you conquer people by separating them. And you know, unless we should actually have a one body that represents every grape grower in Australia, and there should be a body that is actually there to say, well, you cannot buy grapes under the cost of production. If you can't pay, don't buy it. It's no use you coming and saying you offer me $120 because that's a slap in the face. You know, I am not today pointing at any winery. I am pointing on the whole of the Australian wine situation and the grape situation. We need change because personally, I've been in this field for a very long time. I've seen the ups and downs of the wine industry for a long time. But now it is totally different. The cost of growing grapes at the moment is phenomenal. It's not like it was back in the 70s and the 80s. You know, when you need to go and spray and you need to go and buy 5 litres of Myclos and it costs you $650 and that equates to 6 tonnes of grapes, well, there you go, it's gone. You know what I mean? 6 tonnes here, 6 tonnes there. The whole of your caboodle is gone. We need structure. We need, I mean, once, I suppose they will come back and say regulation is not the way to go. Because once upon a time, the wine industry was regulated. It was, the prices increased by CPI. But people made money. When I came here as a little boy, I remember most growers here owned 15 and 20 acres, but they could afford to have a permanent man. I have 200 acres today, and I can't afford to have a permanent man permanently because the costs are too high. You know, the cost of wages, the cost of everything has just gone through the roof. It's crazy. Now, one thing we need to understand also is that we all know Senator Don Farrell. He's actually putting in an independent inquiry into the vegetable, fruit and vegetable with the Coles and Woolies. Now, we need something like that for the wine industry because when you look at, for instance, I'll give you an example. When a grower gets $1 a kilo for, say, for zucchini, the retailer sells it for $4, so he's making 300%. But the grower is getting 25% of that retail. Now, when you compare us as growers at the moment, I'll give you a little example. For instance, a 2-litre cask of Moscato is worth $15. at the bottler or even at the cellar door sales. Now, at 700 litres of wine from a ton of grapes, that equates to about 39 cents is what we get out of that cask of wine. That equates to 5.2% of the retail price. So it's a major, to what we get as grape growers, and even the vegetable growers are suffering at that as well, because just the other day I saw a zucchini grower plough in 90 acres of zucchini because he couldn't afford to actually pick them for the price that Coles and Woolies were offering them. And also, we must also understand that Coles and Woolies are big players in the wine industry, huge in the Australian wine industry. They big players, and because they corporate greed. Unfortunately, multinationals in this country have pretty well ruined us. As we all know, a lot of our issues did start through COVID and through when China decided to put that 200% tariff. But we can't equate that is the whole issue. I also believe that a lot of the wine companies did take their foot off the pedal when China came on board, and I think they just lapsed on their other markets. And when the shit hit the fan, well, China's gone. We can't sell our grapes. But we need to have transparency when it comes to what wineries actually make and what they actually pay. Because at the moment, they can do what they want. There is no, you can't go and ask for instance, to go and see Accolade's books and say, listen, what do you actually make? We can't do that. Now, our leading body, I don't know if you all know, the leading body, which is the Australian Grape and Wine Incorporated, has 40 members on that board. 11 are winemakers and 3 are grape growers. So where do you think their loyalties lie? That's things that need to change. If it's meant to represent growers and winemakers, it's got to be 50-50.
The CCW have tried to gag growers and suppliers from talking about it, from raising it. The other disturbing element about that agreement, or what is being purported, is that there's over 500 of you that are members of the CCW, but nobody went to you and say, this is what we're trying to negotiate.
No.
There was no consensus, there was no consultation with the growers. So,
worse than that, we're told them the opposite.
Sorry?
It's worse than that, we're told them the opposite.
Well, precisely, but they didn't come back to all of you, the people that they rely upon, and put it to you about what you wanted. And that hasn't happened. And they've sold you short. So this is the organisation that is supposed to be representing you, are selling you very short.
I think to be fair to CCW, they got railroaded because they were in dispute over prices for Shiraz and Cabernet last year, and they had to go to mediation. And part of that mediation, Accolade put on the board that they wanted changes to this PSA. And they couldn't go to the mediation to resolve the issue of prices last year unless they discussed that issue of amendments to the PSA. So that was actually, CCW was railroaded at mediation for the price dispute last year on Shiraz and Cabernet.
So they should have come to you. You're the members.
Yeah.
I had discussions with this with CCW, with the former CEO and former chair, went through the legalities of it. I reached out to my peers and got legal opinions as to where growers stand in relation to what the co-operatives represent. And it was put to me that the problem is if me as an individual grower or us as a collective group of growers bring a court case against CCW, we not only have to fund our case, but also their defence.
Because we are CCW at the end of the day.
Or you're suing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, CCW, what have they really done? Apart from $5 and $10 a tonne. The last 20 years, it's always $10, $15, $5, 20. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? I mean, they're there for a reason. When I got out in 2011, they said, you want to leave your foot in the door? I said, I don't want to have a 7 because you actually, no offense, they're my friends. I said, you know, thank you, but no thank you. What they've really fought, so you might as well just be an accolades or a PRL party member anyway. So CCW really has done nothing. Even though they've tried, I must admit. It's $5, $10 a tonne. So they've never been good for us.
Can I just make the point, a contract inflicted under duress is null and void. Correct. And there can be a hell of an argument, and we should be taking a stance to get the contract or the deed of settlement. It's null and void. If somebody wants to give me a new contract, give me a copy, let me do due diligence, let me discuss it, and then I'll come back and talk to you, unless you're trying to do me over. So this confidentiality routine is just another ploy. So we should look, and while I got the floor,
Yes.
the PSA, you keep talking about a new PSA. The bastards are not offering us a PSA. They are offering us a supply agreement, a standard supply agreement with no preferred at all. And CCW and its members, we've got to stop talking about a new PSA. It is not a new PSA, and it's being inflicted on us. Now, there are Jim's highlighted a myriad of things. I'm a retired army officer, and I know I can't bomb a whole grid square. So I'd like you to think about two things we need to do, because right at the moment, what I want to do is make sure that the new supply agreement does not get legs. At the meeting, who would invite foxes in to talk to the hens about the security of the bloody poultry farm? And yet our board has invited these people to come and talk to us. Well, I would suggest, first up, I thought I'd write a letter to the paper and ask you not to come. But the trouble with that is, what if 50 people turn up and they're convinced by the foxes to sign the paper? It would go through. So what I would like us to think about for that particular incident is let them come. Let the rat with the gold tooth stand up in front of us. We pick up our chairs and face the back of the room. And let them see. And the other thing, just while we're wrapping on,
Would you like to talk
the CCW board, by my estimation, in my time, and I've only been here as part of this for 10 years, but I gather that I work out they lost $12, $15 million. They've used my money as investment money, as venture capital. And then all of a sudden, I'm hit 15, 14 bucks a tonne without being told. Well, all the board does is announce and defend. They never consult. We don't get any sort of talk with it. So the mere fact that they would sign a deed of settlement saying that they will do their best to convince us to sign up this supply agreement, they've lost my confidence again. So I think down the track we should be moving a vote of no confidence in them. They cannot continue to venture capital. And they look at the history of this. Growers Gate, the heart of the Murray, the whole deal. They should not, their only job is to enforce the PSA with accolade. So there's two things I think we should be concentrating on in the near future. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Ray.